Captain Jake Morrison stared out the window of his ship at the massive space station ahead. Nexus Prime looked like a giant metal flower floating in space, with dozens of arms reaching out in all directions. Ships from hundreds of different worlds were docked at those arms. Some ships looked like giant crystals, others like living creatures with wings. His own ship, the Aurora, looked plain and simple next to them. Jake had been to many diplomatic meetings before, but this one was different. This time, he was going to the inner council chambers. Only the most important meetings happened there. The message from the Galactic Council had been clear. Captain Morrison was invited to attend the emergency session about trade disputes between the Outer Rim colonies. Captain, we're getting close to the docking area, said his pilot, Lieutenant Amy Chun. She was young but smart, and Jake trusted her completely. Amy had studied alien cultures for years before joining his crew. She knew more about the different species in the galaxy than anyone else on the ship. Good. How long until we dock? Jake asked. About 10 minutes, sir. But I need to tell you something important. Amy's voice sounded worried. She turned in her chair to face him. I've been reading about the security rules for the inner chambers. Every species has to give up their weapons before going inside. Every single one? Jake nodded. He knew this already. The council chambers had the strongest security in the galaxy. Giant machines would scan anyone who tried to enter. If they found any weapons, the person couldn't go inside. The machines could detect any kind of weapon, from simple knives to the most advanced energy guns. But here's the strange part, Amy continued. Humans don't have to give up their weapons. We can walk right through with everything we carry. I've checked the records going back 50 years, since we first joined the council. Not once has a human been stopped by the security systems. This was news to Jake. He touched the gun on his belt. It was a standard Earth-made pistol, nothing special. Are you sure about this? I'm positive. I talked to Captain Rodriguez, who went to a council meeting last year. He said the security scanner just let him through without any problems. The alien guards looked surprised, but they didn't stop him. Jake thought about this as the Aurora moved closer to the docking port. 50 years ago, Earth had made first contact with the Galactic Council. Humans were new to space travel compared to most other species. Some alien civilizations had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Earth was like a small child joining a group of adults. There has to be a reason, Jake said. The council doesn't do anything without a good reason. Amy pulled up information on her computer screen. I've been trying to find out why, but there's no explanation in any of the official records. The other species are starting to get angry about it, especially the Vorthic Collective. Jake knew about the Vorthic. They were a group of species that worked together, and they didn't like humans very much. They thought humans had advanced too quickly and couldn't be trusted. The fact that humans got special treatment would make them even more suspicious. Aurora docked with a soft bump. Jake could hear the sounds of the docking tube connecting to his ship. Soon he would walk through that tube and into the station. He would pass through the security scanners that stopped everyone else in the galaxy, except humans. Captain, there's something else, Amy said. She looked at her screen again. I intercepted some communications between Vorthic ships. They're calling our weapon immunity a security breach and a threat to council safety. They want answers. Jake stood up and checked his uniform. Everything had to be perfect for a council meeting. Well, they're not the only ones who want answers. I'm curious too. They walked through the ship toward the exit. Other crew members nodded as they passed. Everyone knew this was an important mission. Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council affected billions of people back home. Got at the airlock. Jake stopped and looked at Amy. I want you to start researching this as soon as I leave. Find out everything you can about human technology and how it compares to alien technology. There has to be something different about the way our equipment works. Already on it, Captain. I've contacted Dr. Lisa Park back on Earth. She's our best expert on alien technology. If anyone can figure this out, she can. Jake stepped into the airlock. As the door closed behind him, he felt a strange mix of excitement and worry. He was about to walk into one of the most secure places in the galaxy, carrying a weapon that should have been detected and confiscated. But somehow, the most advanced security systems ever built couldn't even see what he was carrying. The docking tube was long and curved. Through the transparent walls, Jake could see the busy traffic around the station. Ships were coming and going constantly. This was the center of galactic government, where decisions were made that affected trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. As he reached the end of the tube, Jake saw the security checkpoint ahead. It was huge, with scanners and sensors, covering every surface. Alien guards from different species stood at their posts. They wore the blue uniforms of Council Security. In front of Jake, a group of Korathi warriors were going through the security process. The Korathi were big, strong beings who looked like humans, but with gray skin and 4 arms. They were known as some of the best fighters in the galaxy. One by one, they placed their weapons on the scanner table. Plasma rifles, energy swords, and small bombs were all detected and removed. Next came a group of peaceful Zalani. They looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin and large eyes. Even they had to give up their defensive energy shields and medical tools that could be used. As weapons. Then it was Jake's turn. He walked up to the scanner, his heart beating fast. The machine hummed as it examined him. Lights flashed across his body. He could feel the energy washing over him, trying to detect anything dangerous. The scanner beeped once and showed a green light. The alien guard looked at his screen, then at Jake, then back at his screen. The guard's expression showed confusion, but he waved Jake through. Jake walked past the checkpoint, still wearing his gun. Behind him, he heard the guards talking in their own language. He didn't understand the words, but their tone was clearly puzzled. As he entered the main corridor leading to the council chambers, Jake passed 2 Vorthic diplomats. They were talking quietly, but he caught a few words in galactic common language. Human. Technology. Impossible to detect. Security threat. Quotes. One of them looked directly at Jake as he walked by. The Vorthic's large eyes were filled with suspicion and anger. Jake nodded politely and kept walking, but he could feel their stares following him down the corridor. The mystery was bigger than he had thought. It wasn't just about weapons. Something about human technology was completely different from everything else in the galaxy. And that difference was making other species very nervous. Jake reached the entrance to the council chambers, his mind full of questions. In a few hours, he would sit in a room with representatives from dozens of species, all of whom had been forced to give up their weapons. All except him. He touched his gun one more time and walked through the doors, ready to face whatever came next. A council meeting lasted for 6 hours. Jake sat at the human delegation's small table, listening to debates about trade routes and mining rights. But his mind kept returning to the security checkpoint. Why had the scanners let him through when they stopped everyone else? When the meeting ended, Jake was gathering his papers when a voice spoke behind him. "Captain Morrison, may I have a word?" Jake turned to see Chairman Xylos approaching. The chairman was ancient, even by the standards of his people, the Reth. His body looked like it was made of living crystal, with light flowing through it in slow patterns. The Reth were one of the oldest species in the council, and Xylos had been chairman for over 200 years. "Of course, Chairman," Jake said. Standing up straight, Xylos waited until the other delegates had left the room. Then he moved closer, his crystal body making soft chiming sounds as he walked. I need to speak with you about something important, something that has puzzled the Council for 50 years. Jake felt his heart beat faster. What is it, sir? The weapon scanners, Captain. You walked through them today, carrying a sidearm, just as every human has done for the past 5 decades. Xylos paused, his internal light pulsing brighter. Do you know why? No, sir. I was hoping you could tell me. Xylos made a sound that might have been laughter. That is exactly what I hoped you would say. Captain, the human exception was not a diplomatic courtesy. It was not a gift from the Council. It was a technical necessity. Jake stared at the chairman. I don't understand. The scanners cannot detect your weapons, Captain. They cannot see them, cannot stop them, cannot even register that they exist. Your gun might as well be invisible to our technology. This was not what Jake had expected to hear, but that's impossible. Your scanners are the most advanced in the galaxy. Indeed they are. They can detect energy signatures from weapons created by every known species. Every species except one. Xylos's light patterns changed, showing what Jake thought might be concern. Captain, we have been studying this mystery since your people first arrived. We have found no explanation. Jake thought about this. Back on the Aurora, Amy would be working with Dr. Park on Earth, trying to solve the same puzzle. Have you tested other human technology? Yes, your ships can pass through our interdiction fields. Your communications can penetrate our jamming systems. Your sensors can detect things that remain invisible to our equipment. Xylos moved closer. Captain, human technology operates by rules we do not understand. Before Jake could respond, another voice interrupted them. How interesting. Both Jake and Xylos turned to see Ambassador Zek of the Vorthic Collective entering the chamber. Zek was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. He moved with the careful grace of a predator. Ambassador. Zek, Chairman Xylos said. This is a private conversation. I'm sure it is. Zek's voice was smooth but cold. I couldn't help but overhear. So the human weapons immunity is not a privilege after all. It's a malfunction. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. It's not a malfunction, isn't it? Zek stepped closer. Your technology doesn't work the way technology should work. It violates the basic principles that govern all civilized science. That sounds like a malfunction to me. That's enough, Xylos said firmly. Ambassador Zek, you have no authority. In this matter, Zek smiled, showing sharp teeth. Perhaps not yet. But the Council deserves to know the truth about human technology. If it cannot be detected or controlled, how can we trust it? How do we know it won't be used against us? Jake stepped forward. Human technology has never been used to attack. Council members. Not yet, Zek replied. But you are a young species, Captain. Young and unpredictable. The galaxy has learned to be careful with unpredictable species. Xylos moved between them. This conversation is over. Ambassador Zek, you will leave now. Zek bowed mockingly. Of course, Chairman. But this matter will not remain private much longer. The Council has a right to know about security breaches. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Jake watched him go, feeling uneasy. He's going to cause trouble. Yes, Xylos agreed. Ambassador Zek has been building support for restrictions on human council membership. This information will give him powerful ammunition. Jake's communicator beeped. It was a message from Amy on the Aurora. Captain, Dr. Park wants to talk. To you right away. She says it's urgent. I need to get back to my ship, Jake told Xylos. Go, but be careful, Captain. Word of this conversation will spread quickly through the diplomatic community. Some species will see human technological immunity as a threat. Jake hurried back through the corridors of Nexus Prime. The station was busy with activity, but he noticed that some of the alien delegates were watching him as he passed. News traveled fast in the diplomatic community. At the security checkpoint, the same thing happened again. The scanners let him through without any reaction. But this time, Jake paid attention to the guards. They were talking among themselves, pointing at their screens and shaking their heads. Back on the Aurora, Amy was waiting for him in the communication room. Dr. Park's face was on the main screen, connecting them to Earth. Captain Morrison. Dr. Park said immediately, "I've been analyzing the data Amy sent me about the weapon scanners. I think I know what's happening." Jake sat down. "Tell me." Dr. Park was a small woman with gray hair and intense eyes. She had spent her career studying alien technology, trying to understand how it worked. Human technology doesn't operate on the same principles as alien technology. Their systems are based on crystalline matrices and bio-neural networks. Ours use what I call chaotic resonance. "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means we solve problems differently. Alien species optimize and refine existing principles. They take what works and make it better. Humans invent completely new approaches." Amy leaned forward. "So our technology is actually different at a fundamental level?" "Exactly. Think about how we developed computers. We started with mechanical calculators, then moved to vacuum tubes, then transistors, and microprocessors. Each step was a completely new approach. Alien species would have perfected vacuum tubes instead of inventing transistors." Jake was starting to understand. "So their scanners can't detect our weapons because our weapons work in ways they never considered?" "Right. Their scanners look for energy patterns that make sense to them. Our technology creates patterns that seem random and chaotic. To their systems, it looks like noise, not technology." This was bigger than Jake had realized. What else can't they detect? "Potentially, everything we make." "Captain, this explains why humans have advanced so quickly since joining the galactic community. We're not just learning their technology. We're creating entirely new forms of technology they've never seen." Amy looked worried. "But if they can't understand our technology, won't that make them nervous?" "It already is," Jake said, thinking about his conversation with Ambassador Zek. "The Vorthic Collective is asking questions. They want to know why we're different." Dr. Park nodded. "I've been monitoring diplomatic communications. There are rumors spreading through the Council. Some species think human technology immunity is a security threat." Jake felt the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. Humanity's greatest strength might become their greatest weakness. The same creativity and adaptability that made human technology unique could also make other species afraid. "What do we do?" Amy asked. "We need more information," Jake said. "Dr. Park, I want you to run every test you can on human technology. Find out exactly how different we are. Amy, monitor all diplomatic communications. I want to know what other species are saying about this." "Already on it," Amy replied. Dr. Park's expression was serious. "Captain, there's something else. I've detected some unusual energy signatures around Nexus Prime. It looks like someone is using very advanced scanning equipment to study your ship." Jake felt a chill. "Who?" "I'm not sure yet, but whoever it is, they're very interested in human technology." The screen went dark as the communication ended. Jake sat in silence for a moment, processing everything he had learned. Human technology was fundamentally different from alien technology. The weapon scanners couldn't detect human equipment because they didn't understand how it worked. And now, someone was secretly studying human ships. "Captain," Amy said quietly, "what if the other species decide we're too dangerous to keep in?" "The Council?" Jake had been wondering the same thing. "Then we'll have to prove that being different doesn't mean being dangerous." But as he looked out at the alien ships surrounding Nexus Prime, Jake wondered if that would be enough. The galaxy was full of species that had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They had rules and expectations about how technology should work. Humans had arrived and broken all those rules without even trying. Now they would have to live with the consequences. 3 days later, Dr. Park made a discovery that changed everything. Jake was in his quarters when Amy knocked on his door, her face excited and worried at the same time. "Captain, you need to see this. Dr. Park has been running tests all night." They hurried to the communication room where Dr. Park was waiting on screen. She looked tired but alert, with papers and computer displays scattered around her lab on Earth. "Captain, I figured it out," she said without introduction. "Human technology isn't just different. It's operating in a completely separate dimensional space." Jake sat down, trying to understand. "What do you mean?" "Think of it this way. Alien technology manipulates energy through fixed pathways, like water flowing through pipes. Our technology creates its own pathways as it works, like lightning finding its own path through the sky." Commander Alex Turner entered the room. He was the Aurora's physicist, a quiet man who understood complex science better than anyone else on the ship. "Dr. Park contacted me an hour ago. I've been running my own tests." "And?" Jake asked. Alex activated a holographic display. It showed 2 different patterns of energy, one organized and flowing in neat lines, the other chaotic and random. The organized pattern is how alien technology works. The chaotic pattern is ours. Dr. Park continued the explanation. Alien species discovered the principles of physics and then built technology around those principles. They optimized and refined, but always within the same basic framework. Humans did something different, Alex added. We experimented. We tried things that shouldn't work according to standard physics. And sometimes they worked anyway. Jake looked at the holographic display. The chaotic pattern seemed alive, changing and adapting moment by moment. "So our technology actually breaks the rules of physics?" "Not breaks," Dr. Park corrected. "It finds new rules that nobody else discovered. Rules that only work through creative chaos." Amy leaned forward. "That's why the alien scanners can't detect our weapons. They're looking for organized energy patterns, but our weapons create chaotic patterns." "Exactly. To their sensors, our technology looks like random noise. They literally cannot see it because they're not programmed to recognize chaos as technology." This explained so much. Jake thought about all the times human technology had surprised alien scientists. Human ships that could go places alien ships couldn't. Human computers that solved problems alien computers couldn't handle. Human weapons that worked in ways alien weapons didn't. "There's more," Dr. Park said. "I've been analyzing the historical records. Every major breakthrough in human technology came from someone trying something that experts said was impossible." Alex nodded. The Wright brothers flying when scientists said heavier-than-air flight was impossible. Einstein's theories that contradicted accepted physics. Computer programming that started with people literally poking holes in cards. Meanwhile, Dr. Park continued, alien species developed technology through logical progression. Each advancement built on the previous one in an orderly, predictable way. Jake was beginning to understand the full scope of what this meant. So we're not just different. We're completely unique in the galaxy. As far as I can tell, yes. "Captain, I've analyzed technology from 47 different species. They all follow the same basic principles. Only humans use chaotic resonance." Before Jake could respond, the ship's alarm system activated. Amy quickly checked her communications panel. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from Chairman Xylos." The main screen to show the crystal chairman in what looked like a private office. His internal light was pulsing rapidly, which Jake had learned indicated stress. "Captain Morrison, something has happened. Can you come to my office immediately? And bring your science officers." 20 minutes later, Jake, Amy, and Alex were sitting in Chairman Xylus's private office deep inside Nexus Prime. The room was beautiful, with crystal walls that showed moving patterns of light. But Xylus himself looked agitated. "Captain, we have a problem. Word about human technological immunity has spread through the diplomatic community. But that's not the worst part." Xylus activated a holographic display showing a massive ship Jake didn't recognize. It was sleek and dark, with strange curves that hurt to look at directly. "This ship arrived an hour ago. It belongs to the Watchers." Jake had heard of the Watchers, but never seen one. They were an ancient species that had been observing galactic civilization for thousands of years. They rarely interfered directly in galactic affairs, but when they did, it usually meant something very important was happening. "Why are they here?" Amy asked. "They want to speak with you, Captain. Specifically about human technology." A new voice spoke from behind them. "That is correct." They turned to see a figure that was difficult to focus on. The Watcher looked almost human, but there was something wrong with the proportions. It was as if someone had tried to draw a human from memory and gotten the details slightly wrong. "I am the observer," the being said. "I have been watching your species since you first developed fire." Jake felt a chill. "Watching us for that long?" "We watch all species as they develop. Most follow predictable patterns. They discover the same principles of physics, develop similar technologies, join galactic civilization in familiar ways." The observer moved closer, and Jake had to fight the urge to step back. "Humans are different." Alex found his voice. "Different how?" "You create technology through pure creativity rather than logical development. This has never happened before. In galactic history, Dr. Park had been right. Human technology really was unique. The observer continued. Most species inherit knowledge or develop it through biological adaptation. The Reth grow their technology like crystals. The Korathi build their technology like muscles. The Zelani weave their technology like thoughts. Humans ... Humans imagine their technology into existence. Silas's light patterns changed to show what Jake thought was amazement. "Is that why their technology cannot be detected by our systems?" "Yes. Your systems look for technology that follows the rules. Human technology creates its own rules as needed." Jake felt overwhelmed by the implications. What does this mean for humanity's place in the galaxy? The observer was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was thoughtful. "That depends on how the other species react to this knowledge. Some will see human creativity as a valuable resource. Others will see it as a threat to the established order." "The Vorthic Collective," Amy said, "among others. There are species that fear change, that prefer the stability of known principles. The idea that technology can be created through chaos rather than order disturbs them." Xylos spoke up. "Observer, in your opinion, is human technology dangerous to galactic civilization?" "All technology is dangerous if misused. But human technology has a unique characteristic that makes it inherently safer than most." "What's that?" Jake asked. "It resists hostile control. Your chaotic resonance technology cannot be easily turned against its creators. This is why your ship systems do not respond to alien control interfaces. This is why your weapons cannot be reverse engineered by species that do not understand creativity." This was news to Jake. He hadn't known that human technology resisted hostile takeover. Alex looked excited. "So our chaotic approach actually creates built-in security?" "In a sense, yes. But this also means that other species cannot easily study or duplicate human technology. This makes some of them nervous." The observer moved toward the window, looking out at the busy space traffic around Nexus Prime. Captain Morrison, your species stands at a crossroads. The knowledge of human technological uniqueness is spreading. Soon, every species in the galaxy will know that humans create technology in ways that have never been seen before. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What should we do? That is not for me to decide. But I will say this. The galaxy has faced many challenges over the millennia. Solutions have always come through innovation and creativity. Your species may represent the next phase of galactic evolution. Before anyone could respond, an urgent alarm sounded throughout the station. Xylos immediately activated his communication system. What is the emergency? He asked. Chairman, we have a situation in Docking Bay 7. A Vorthic strike force is attempting to board the human vessel Aurora. Jake jumped to his feet. They're attacking my ship. The observer turned back to them, its strange face showing what might have been concern. It appears the crossroads has arrived sooner than expected. Jake was already moving toward the door. His crew was in danger, and the Vorthic were trying to steal human technology. The secret was out, and the galaxy would never be the same. Amy, contact the ship. Alex, get ready to analyze whatever they're trying to do. Jake paused at the door. Observer, will you help us? I will observe, the being replied, as I always do. Jake ran through the corridors of Nexus Prime, knowing that the next few hours would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. The Vorthic had made their move. Now it was time to see if human creativity could find a way out of this crisis. Jake reached the docking bay to find chaos. 3 Vorthic ships had surrounded the Aurora, and armed soldiers were trying to cut through the hull. But something was wrong with their equipment. Their cutting tools were sparking and failing, and their soldiers looked confused and angry. Captain! Lieutenant Sam Brooks came running up. He was Jake's chief engineer, a former military man who knew weapons and ships better than anyone. The Vorthic boarding party got inside, but they can't control anything. Our systems won't respond to their commands. Jake felt relieved and worried at the same time. His ship was safe, but this incident would make the political situation much worse. Are our people okay? Yes, sir. The boarding party gave up and retreated. Their equipment kept malfunctioning around our technology. Amy arrived with Alex, right? Behind her. Captain, I've been monitoring Vorthic communications. They're claiming this was a security inspection, not an attack. A security inspection with armed soldiers and cutting tools? Jake shook his head. Nobody's going to believe that. Chairman Xylos appeared with a group of council security officers. His crystal body was pulsing with bright, angry light. Captain Morrison, I apologize for this incident. The Vorthic acted without council authorization. What happens now? Jake asked. Now we deal with the consequences. Ambassador Zek has called for an emergency council session. He's demanding that all human technology be studied and regulated. Jake looked at his ship. The Aurora looked undamaged, but he could see Vorthic. Soldiers standing near their ships, looking frustrated and defeated. Their attempt to capture human technology had failed completely. Sir, Sam said quietly, there's something else. While they were trying to board us, their equipment started working backwards. What do you mean? Their communication systems started broadcasting our radio signals. Their scanners started showing them our ship's coffee pot instead of our weapons. It was like our technology was confusing theirs. Alex looked excited. That proves Dr. Park's theory. Human chaotic resonance technology doesn't just resist alien control. It actively disrupts alien systems. This was important information, but Jake wasn't sure if it was good news or bad news. If human technology could disrupt alien systems, Other species would be even more worried about having humans around. "Captain," Amy said, checking her communication device, "I'm getting reports from Earth. News of the Vorthik incident is spreading fast. Other human ships in the galaxy are reporting increased security inspections." The situation was getting worse by the hour. Jake made a decision. "Amy, contact Dr. Park on Earth. Tell her we need a full analysis of how human technology affects alien systems. Sam, I want a complete report on what happened during the boarding attempt. Alex, start working on a presentation that explains chaotic resonance in simple terms." "What are you planning, Captain?" Xylos asked. "I'm going to that emergency council session, and I'm going to tell them the truth about human technology." 2 hours later, Jake stood in the main council chamber, facing representatives from dozens of species. The room was huge, with seats arranged in a circle around a central speaking area. Each species had their own section, and Jake could see the tension in the air. Ambassador Zeke of the Vorthik Collective stood at the speaker's podium, his pale blue skin almost glowing with anger. The human vessel actively resisted lawful inspection. Their technology disrupted our equipment and endangered our personnel. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. Jake saw representatives from many species looking worried and suspicious. "Furthermore," Zek continued, "we have discovered that human technology operates outside all known scientific principles. It cannot be detected, cannot be controlled, and cannot be understood. This represents a clear threat to galactic security." More murmurs spread through the chamber, but these sounded different. Instead of fear, Jake heard curiosity and interest. A representative from the scientific Valder Consortium stood up. "Mr. Quill, can you provide more details about these improvements?" "Certainly. Human approaches to problem solving have revolutionized our understanding of resource distribution. They don't follow our logical models, but their solutions work better than anything we've developed in thousands of years." Ambassador Zek looked angry. "This proves my point. Human technology is unpredictable and uncontrollable." "No," said Chairman Xylos thoughtfully. "It proves that diversity of thought leads to better solutions." Jake felt hope rising in his chest. The mood in the chamber was shifting again, away from fear and toward possibility. "Captain Morrison," said a Karathi general, "your technology resisted our attempts to study it during the boarding incident, but it also disrupted our equipment. Can you explain this?" Jake looked at Alex, who nodded. "Our technology creates chaotic energy patterns. When it encounters organized alien systems, those systems sometimes get confused. It's not intentional disruption. It's more like static interference." "But this static interference made our weapons malfunction," the Karathi general continued. "Yes, sir. Human technology seems to create a natural defense against hostile systems, but it only affects technology that's trying to control or attack it." A Zelani diplomat leaned forward. "Are you saying human technology can defend itself?" "In a way, yes, but it can't attack. The chaos that protects it also prevents it from being used aggressively against systems it doesn't understand." This was a crucial point, and Jake could see it registering with the council members. Human technology was defensive, not offensive. Ambassador Zek wasn't giving up. Even if we accept that human technology is defensive, it still represents a security risk. If we cannot detect it, how do we maintain order? "The same way we've maintained order for 50 years, Jake replied. "Through trust and cooperation, not through fear and control." An ancient representative from the Eternal Archives spoke up. Her species was known for their long memories and careful record-keeping. "Captain Morrison, I have studied the records of human participation in council affairs. In 50 years, humans have never violated council law or threatened council security." "That's correct," Chairman Xylos confirmed. "Then why," the ancient being continued, are we discussing changing our policies based on theoretical fears rather than actual evidence? Jake felt the momentum shifting in humanity's favor, but he knew Ambassador Zek would make one final push. Because, Zek said loudly, humans are young and unpredictable. Today they cooperate. Tomorrow they might decide to conquer. Any species might decide to conquer, Jake replied. The Vorthic Collective has attacked council members before. Should we ban Vorthic technology too? Angry shouts came from the Vorthic section. Zek's face turned darker blue with rage. Chairman Xylos called for order. This debate has gone on long enough. I call for a preliminary vote on Ambassador Zek's proposal to regulate human technology. Jake held his breath as the voting began. Each species announced their position in turn. The Zelani voted against regulation. The Pixians voted against. The Korathi voted for regulation. The Vorthic voted for. Obviously, as the count continued, Jake realized it was going to be close. Too close. Then the observer from the Watcher species stood up. Jake had forgotten the ancient being was in the chamber. The Watchers request permission to speak. The entire chamber fell silent. The Watchers almost never participated in council. Debates. Permission granted, Xylos said. The observer moved to the center of the chamber. We have observed galactic civilization for millennia. We have seen species rise and fall, technologies advance and stagnate. In all that time, we have learned one important truth. The observer paused, and Jake could feel the tension in the room. Diversity drives evolution. Similarity leads to stagnation. The galaxy needs different approaches to survive and grow. The observer looked directly at Jake. Human technology represents the first truly new approach to physics we have seen in over 10,000 years. To regulate, it would be to limit the galaxy's potential for advancement. With that, the observer sat down. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Chairman Xylos spoke carefully. Does anyone wish to change their vote based on the observer's statement? Several species changed their votes. The final count was decisive. The council rejected Ambassador Zek's proposal to regulate human technology. Jake felt relief wash over him, but he knew this wasn't the end of the problem. The Vorthic Collective and their allies would keep pushing for restrictions on human participation in the council. As the session ended and representatives began filing out, Chairman Xylos approached. Jake, you won today, Captain, but this issue isn't resolved. There are still many species who fear human technological immunity. What do you suggest? Jake asked. Prove that human creativity benefits everyone, not just humans. Show the galaxy that diversity makes us all stronger. Jake nodded. That would be the real challenge. Not just defending human technology, but demonstrating its value to galactic civilization. As he walked back to the Aurora, Jake thought about everything that had happened. Human technology was safe for now, but humanity's place in the galaxy was still uncertain. They had won a battle, but the war for acceptance was just beginning. The observer's words echoed in his mind. Diversity drives evolution. Similarity leads to stagnation. Humanity's chaotic approach to technology wasn't just different. It might be exactly what the galaxy needed to face whatever chaw. 6 months after the emergency council session, Jake stood in a laboratory on Nexus Prime that would have been impossible to imagine before. Human and alien scientists worked side by side, their different approaches to technology creating innovations. That surprised everyone. Dr. Park had arrived from Earth 3 weeks ago to lead the human side of the collaboration. She was currently working with a Reth crystal engineer named Harmonix, trying to combine human chaotic resonance with Reth crystalline matrices. Captain, you have to see this, Dr. Park called out. Jake walked over to her workstation. On the table was a device that looked like a human computer processor grown through a crystal formation. Light moved through it in patterns that seemed both organized and random at the same time. "What is it?" Jake asked. "It's a hybrid processing unit. The Reth crystalline structure provides stability, while human chaotic resonance provides creativity. Together, they can solve problems that neither technology could handle alone." Harmonix, the Reth engineer, chimed softly as he spoke. "Captain Morrison, this collaboration has been most enlightening. Human chaotic patterns complement our ordered structures in unexpected ways." Jake smiled. The joint technology project had been Chairman Xylus's idea. Instead of fearing human technological differences, why not explore how those differences could benefit everyone? "How much faster is it than regular computers?" Jake asked. "About 50 times faster for creative problem solving," Dr. Park replied. "And it uses half the energy of conventional systems." Amy entered the lab, carrying a data tablet. "Captain, I have the latest reports from the field tests. Over the past 6 months, hybrid human-alien technology had been tested throughout the galaxy. The results were impressive. Pixian traders reported dramatic improvements in efficiency. Zalani medical teams had developed new treatments for diseases that had puzzled them for centuries. Even the Korathi military had found ways to make their defensive systems more effective. "What's the overall assessment?" Jake asked. 97% positive results," Amy replied. "The only complaints are coming from the Vorthic Collective. And even some of their younger scientists want to participate in the program." Jake felt satisfaction, but also concern. Ambassador Zek and his hardline supporters hadn't given up their opposition to human involvement in galactic affairs. They had just changed their strategy. "Captain," Dr. Park said, "there's something else you should know. We've detected some unusual energy signatures around the station again." "The same as before?" "Similar, but more intense. Someone is using very advanced scanning equipment to study the hybrid technology we're developing." Before Jake could respond, his communicator chimed. It was Chairman Xylos requesting an immediate meeting. 20 minutes later, Jake was in the chairman's office. With Amy and Alex, Xylos looked more agitated than Jake had ever seen him. "Captain, we have a situation. The Vorthic Collective has formed a coalition with 12 other species. They're calling themselves the Stability Alliance." "What do they want?" Jake asked. "They're demanding a complete review of Human Council membership. They claim that human technological influence is destabilizing galactic civilization." Alex leaned forward. "But the test results show that hybrid technology is improving everything." "That's exactly what they're afraid of," Xylos replied. "Change, even positive change, threatens the established order. Some species have built their entire civilizations around current technology. If human approaches make that technology obsolete, those civilizations could collapse." Jake understood the problem. It wasn't really about security or safety. It was about power and control. Species that had dominated through superior technology were afraid of losing their advantages. "What evidence are they presenting?" Amy asked. Xylos activated a holographic display showing economic data from across the galaxy. "Trade patterns are shifting. Species that embrace hybrid technology are becoming more prosperous. Those that don't are falling behind economically. So, they want to stop progress to protect their own interests," Jake said. "Essentially, yes. The Stability Alliance is proposing new regulations that would limit human participation in technological development. They want to contain human influence before it changes the galaxy too much." Jake felt frustrated. Just when human-alien cooperation was producing amazing results, fear and jealousy were threatening to destroy it all. "Chairman, what's your position on this?" "I support continued collaboration. The benefits are undeniable. But I'm only one voice on the council. The Stability Alliance has significant political power." Before anyone could respond, the door chimed. "Enter," Xylos called. The observer from the Watcher species glided into the room. As always, looking directly at the being was somehow difficult. "Observer," Xylos said with surprise. "I wasn't expecting you. Circumstances have changed, Chairman. I come with important information." The observer moved to the center of the room. "The Watchers have been monitoring galactic development for over 1,000,000 years. In that time, we have seen 3 major evolutionary leaps in galactic civilization." Jake listened intently. The Watchers rarely shared historical information. The first leap occurred when species learned to travel between stars. The second when they formed the first galactic governments. We believe the third leap is happening now. "What kind of leap?" Alex asked. "The integration of chaotic and ordered approaches to technology. For the first time in galactic history, truly new forms of science are being created." The observer turned toward Jake. "Captain Morrison, your species has triggered something unprecedented. The hybrid technologies being developed are not just improvements on existing systems. They represent entirely new categories of science." Xylos's light patterns showed amazement. "Are you saying human-alien collaboration is creating a new phase of galactic evolution?" "That is exactly what I am saying. And that is why some species are so afraid." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders again. "What happens if the Stability Alliance succeeds in limiting human involvement? Then galactic evolution stagnates. The galaxy continues with current technology for another 1,000,000 years, until an external threat requires adaptation or extinction." "External threat?" Amy asked. "There are other galaxies, Lieutenant Chun. Some are not peaceful. Galactic civilization will eventually need to defend itself against forces that current technology cannot handle." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. "Observer," Jake said finally, "will the Watchers support continued human-alien collaboration?" "We will do more than support it. We will participate in it." This was unprecedented. The Watchers had never directly participated in galactic affairs. "Why now?" Xylos asked. "Because this evolutionary leap is too important to leave to chance. The Stability Alliance must not be allowed to prevent galactic advancement." Jake felt hope rising. With Watcher support, the collaborative technology program would be much harder to stop. "What do you need from us?" Jake asked. "Continue developing hybrid technology. Prove that chaotic ordered integration benefits everyone. Show the galaxy that evolution is better than stagnation." Over the next 3 months, the technology collaboration program expanded rapidly. More species joined despite pressure from the Stability Alliance. The results became impossible to ignore. Hybrid communication systems allowed instant contact across galactic distances. Hybrid medical technology cured diseases that had been fatal for millennia. Hybrid transportation cut travel time between star systems by 70%. The final confrontation came at the annual Grand Council Assembly. Representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered to vote on the Stability Alliance's proposal to limit human technological involvement. Jake sat in the human delegation section, watching as Ambassador Zek presented the Alliance's case. The rapid changes caused by human technological influence threaten the stability that has maintained galactic peace for thousands of years. When Zek finished, Chairman Xylos called for the opposition response. The observer stood up. The Watchers wished to address the assembly. The massive chamber fell completely silent. Many representatives had never seen a Watcher before. "Members of the Galactic Council," the observer began, "you face a choice between evolution and extinction. The universe does not stand still. Change is inevitable. You can guide that change or be destroyed by it." The observer gestured, and a holographic display showed images of other galaxies. Some of these galaxies chose stagnation. They no longer exist. Others chose evolution. They prosper and grow. The integration of human chaotic resonance with alien-ordered systems represents the next step in galactic evolution. To reject this advancement is to choose extinction over growth. When the vote was called, the result was overwhelming. Only the Core Stability Alliance species voted to limit human involvement. Everyone else voted for continued collaboration. Ambassador Zek left the assembly in defeat, but Jake knew this wouldn't be the end of opposition to human involvement in galactic affairs. After the vote, Jake stood on an observation deck, looking out at the ships from hundreds of worlds docked at Nexus Prime. Many of them now carried hybrid technology developed through human-alien collaboration. Dr. Park joined him at the window. "Captain, I just received a message from Earth. The government wants to establish permanent collaboration centers on 50 different worlds.